What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with another Dead Can Dance reaction, and you may be wondering, why is Goethe's Faust sitting over here? It's sitting over here because the next tune on Aion, 1990, thank you again to Vera, is Mephisto, and this is crazy timing. I literally just reacted to a punk rock tune by Strung Out from their Element of Sonic Defiance album called Mephisto. So I literally, within the last 3 or 4 days, just did an introduction where I talked about Mephisto, short for Mephistopheles, or Mephistopheles as some people say, a German folkloric demonic character often paired with Dr. Faust or Faustus, going back to early, I think, modern German legends, but first brought to the stage, I believe, by Christopher Marlowe in the late 16th century, and then maybe much more famously by Goethe in 2 parts in the early 19th century, meaning the first part, which is the part I think most people are familiar with, is from 1808, something like that, 1806? I'm forgetting exactly, but it was published in the first decade of the 19th century, and then more than 2 decades later, shortly before he died, Goethe published a part 2, which I believe is not performed on stage nearly as often as the narrative of part 1. In any case, it's a really interesting philosophical narrative, and you basically can go check my reaction to the introduction to Strung Out's Mephisto, but just to recapitulate that in a more condensed and concise manner, Mephisto offers Faust great powers of change, but at the cost of his soul, and often with unintended consequences, meaning, he says you can change this whole landscape, you can make a modern city and so on, but then in the process, older ways and people who just want to have a simple life and stay where they are swept away, to which Mephisto will say, well, look, you wanted to change things, you want to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs, essentially. So, yeah, it's a really interesting character, which again goes back to Germanic folklore, but has been popularized through especially Goethe's work. So I don't know really what to expect here, given that the songs I've heard from Dead Can Dance, which again, you can count them on, not even a full single hand at this point, but they seem very atmospheric, and they have at least on this album, a Renaissance, medieval, or Middle Ages type of configuration. Maybe this will play off of the folkloric background. If there are lyrics in English, I do wonder if there'll be a full narrative, maybe just more descriptive. So let's see what it is in practice. This is Dead Can Dance, the tune is Mephisto, and it's from their 1990 album Aion. Oh, so it's kind of a transitional piece. Again, I've heard some concept albums, not only going back years, I guess that way, depending on how you see the spatial relationship of time, but as I've done these deep dives, there's been some albums where there's tunes that are transitional art pieces, like Kate Bush has had some of those, where it's not even a song per se. Given that, let's listen to the next one in the playlist, though I have not prepared a book for whatever that is. Nevertheless, okay, so the next one is the Song of the Sibyl. So, calling again upon my classical learning, if you will, I think a Sibyl is an ancient Greek, I don't know, prophetess is maybe the best word, sort of like an oracle, a female seer that can predict events or tell those who seek their consultation about aspects of the future, though often in a cryptic, poetic way that might not be clear to the listener until they cannot change that fate. So yeah, I wonder, and again, I feel like there's a bit of a connection in that regard related to Mephisto, but perhaps, in the context of this album and, historically, culturally, those are two very distinct things, but conceptually, I feel like there is a bit of a nice segue from Mephisto to something about a Sibyl. So yeah, let's give it a listen, even though this was not part of the plan. This is Dead Can Dance. The tune is The Song of the Sibyl, and it's from the 1990 album Aion. Stunning. A immensely stunning work that had some different musical flavors. Now, I don't know a whole lot about ancient Greek music, and indeed, the way they notated music was different So at best, modern reconstructions are partially hypotheses rather than a, note by note transcription of what the original music may have sounded like. See my reaction now, like 3 years ago, to the epitaph. Is it of Seklios? I'm forgetting the name. Seklios, but it's one of the oldest pieces of music in the Western canon anyway, and again, exactly how it sounded is up for debate, but I did a reaction to a performance of that, which I had from the, Norton Anthology of Western Music, which came from a music class I took many a moon ago. But yes, there's a bit of an ancient Greek music sound to this, but also like a Gothic cathedral, late Middle Ages, like church music type of sound, certainly in the organ, but also in some of the singing, though again, some of the singing, like those backing, I think, male singers, or, like choral element, that sounded, again, like a bit like ancient Greek music, but Lisa Gerrard's lead vocal, exquisite, beautiful, but also ranging up and down, going very deep at some moments, but very melodic and expressive at every part of the range. Like a really powerful tune that had me sort of, maybe not a meditative state, but I became very cognitive and outwardly tranquil as the song sort of washed over me. So again, I don't know if any of that is in English. I don't think it was. If it was, I was more enraptured by the vocal performance and the sonic atmosphere than would allow me to catch any English words. So yeah, just a really mesmerizing tune. Again, I do have some trance records going back years which feature Lisa Gerrard's vocals, and I really have to, at some point in the not too distant future, in the coming weeks, react to some of those as I'm going through maybe this album specifically, which again, I know some people commented, not everything Dead Can Dance do sounds like this, and apparently when the male vocalist, producer, songwriter, I'm not sure exactly, I'm forgetting his name in the moment, but people mention, songs where he's singing, they don't tend to sound as ethereal as the songs where Lisa Gerrard is singing. So again, while I'm going through this album, I feel like I should do some of those trance reactions. But in any case, the point is a very stunning tune. I didn't comment sonically on Mephisto. That had, again, a high Middle Ages instrumental sound to it. It was very rich. It was very transportive. It makes me feel like I'm watching some musical troupe in, the late 15th century or something like that. But it was very transitional. It was very ephemeral and brief, and then led us into this heavier and, cavernous type of sound of this track. So yeah, just an incredible pair of tunes. Thank you again to Vera. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.